Hello, this is Indie Insight, and I'm your host, Tristan Ornak, as always. And today we will have an interview with Black Barrel Records. Black Barrel Records is a small-time record label located in Shelton, Connecticut. They were founded in 2021, so pretty recently, and they primarily focus on high-quality music recordings and hands-on label services. So who am I with today? What name?
So my name is James Howard. I'm the owner and CEO of Black Barrel Records.
Awesome. So, James, I just have a couple questions for you. I'm going to keep it pretty lenient, pretty relaxed. So how did Black Barrel Records come to be? What was the inspiration behind starting it?
So the inspiration behind starting it was, honestly, always having a love for writing music and performing music myself under any band I was a part of. As of recently, I'm in the band The Inside Out, which is also signed to the label as well. And I kind of wanted to create a home for artists that had similar visions and goals in mind. I wanted to make sure there was a place for artists like myself who wanted to go and work on what they're trying to work on and have the tools they need to succeed in what their goals are.
Awesome. No, that's really neat. I love to hear that. I just think the passion behind smaller record labels such as these, it's really important and it's really essential, and it's something we honestly kind of need more of. I don't want to be like this, but in a world where there's so many monopolies and in a state as small as Connecticut that I kind of argue is not really known for music, it's really important. But yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Can I hear more about the band, actually, before I move on? Yeah, I'd love to hear it.
So the band The Inside Out was a project I started as a solo project in 2016, 2017, while I was transitioning from some other bands I was a part of. I started writing songs in my bedroom, and I started producing them. I programmed the drums. I did all the instruments myself, and I was like, you know what? I've had enough time apart from being in a band. I want another band. And instead of just doing, James Howard, I wanted to actually have a band name behind it. So I asked a couple buddies from college and high school to start it with me and work on it and at least get it off the ground running. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I can definitely relate. Me personally, I make music under just my name right now. It's under my legal name. Tristan is my second first name. Long story behind that. But, yeah, very interesting. Was it hard to kind of get a band together, find those people?
Yes and no. I think if you spend time honing your craft and work on the music, that will attract the people that want to work on the music with you. Even if it's not necessarily their favorite genre or their favorite songwriting style or anything like that, if they like what you're working on and they see the passion and drive behind what you're doing, it shouldn't be hard finding other like-minded musicians to be a part of that.
See, I'm taking notes because that's something I'm struggling with right now.
Well, yeah, it's kind of like a give and take, right? The Inside Out, with that being said, it's been a revolving door of band members. It started with, some old friends of mine. It moved into a completely different second lineup around 2019. Right. And then around COVID times, it had a different lineup. You know what I mean? And then since then, it's been pretty much the same lineup since. And I'm so grateful for that.
That's good, though, yeah.
Grown with some really close friends of mine now with the project, and it's grown into this really cool thing that it started as, this emo alt-rock project, and now it's this indie rock, project instead. It's kind of interesting like that.
I love it. Yeah, I'll have to listen to more. So coming back to the label now, what kind of music do you focus on, if any, genre-wise? And how would you kind of define that sound or genre of your record label, Black Barrel?
So I honestly am a big fan of that early 2000s indie rock sound, but I also think there's people sleep on that early 2010 kind of vibe.
I agree.
Of one of our artists that we have on the label, Internet Tears, they really, really bring out the vibe of 1975. And Although that's not like what I grew up on of like the Killers or Modest Mouse, that type of like built to spill like indie rock, grungy like West Coast kind of vibe,
Right, yeah.
It's still really, really cool indie music in general. And I think like that's kind of what I'm focusing on is like that originality that honestly has been kind of lost with some music nowadays where you get a lot of that sounds like that 100%. It's recycled.
Right.
And you end up with like 10 bands that sound like that. It's like, what are you doing differently? What are you bringing to the table differently? I think that's kind of what I look for personally.
Like, would you say like you look for really like experimentation in the music?
I think it's got to have like, just like any good recipe, it's got to have a little bit of nostalgia to it.
Yeah.
Nostalgia is addictive. It's good. It sells. It works. But it's also got to have that originality and experimentation on it. Otherwise, all it is something that's already been done. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, how many artists do you have before I get into this?
So, right now, there are 3 artists under the label.
Yeah.
Looking to hopefully grow it to 5. Originally, this year was going to be the goal for that. I think we're looking at more so mid next year for having 5 artists, and they'll probably end up with fall releases if we do move forward with adding 2 more artists. Who knows? Maybe a couple artists will fall in my lap the rest of this fall into winter, but I think that's kind of the game plan right now. Yeah.
No, that's really cool. I just want to know, like, what's the process of finding those artists? What is it like?
So I think sometimes there's like, something as simple as like listening to, Spotify radio or Pandora or Sirius XM and, an artist might pop up. I might shoot him a message and be like, hey, I really love your music. What are you working on? You're working with a label already. Who do you use for distribution? What are some of your goals? That might be like, hey, we're trying to just stay independent right now. That's totally cool. That's some of the approach that I do because I like to reach out to musicians I really like the music of. And then there's the other approach where we have on our website, if somebody's looking for label services and they genuinely think they have a song that will work with what we're trying to work on and our goals align, they can submit their music right to our website. Yeah.
Wow, really cool. I really wasn't expecting to be so invested in this. And this is something I can definitely relate to. I feel like I'm more in your genre, and even the artists that I work with are kind of more in that genre. I never expected someone to bring up Modest Mouse, honestly. But yeah, so how involved would you say that Black Barrel gets involved with the creative process or kind of the sound of the artists on the label?
Okay, so this one's kind of different for every artist I think I'm going to be working with from here until I'm done working with other artists, because everything starts for me with a conversation of communication is key. How much do you want me to be involved with your project? I think there's been so many times where label execs or producers or even engineers or anyone, you name it, even other band members in a band, they kind of like force their opinion, or they don't talk about it first. Like, how much can I get involved? Like, what are our boundaries? And I think that's why everything for me always starts with that communication is key. How much do you want me to help with this? Do you want me to be in the booth with you telling you your vocals are a little out?
Yeah.
Or do you want me to be like, just shut up? Hey, dude, that sounded great. And then just, and then pitch correct it later anyway. How do you, you know what I mean? But, all jokes aside, like, I'm a firm believer of the artist's job is to create the art. It's my job to take that art to the next level.
Wow. Yeah. Awesome. So what are some of the biggest challenges that you faced with this label?
Being 100% self-started. We do not, I'm a very transparent person. We don't have some big investors backing us.
Yeah.
We started out as DIY musicians. I started out, building and working in studios and basements. I got an internship at another studio, worked my way up to the point where I knew what I was doing. I helped build another studio. We're 100% self-started. Everything we built ourselves from the ground up, and we're 100% self-owned in that, though,
Right.
which is great. So I don't have a board of investors or even, partner investors that are like, what are we doing? This artist needs to do this, that, the other. I can
Right.
actually be like, no, we're working on stuff at our pace that we want to work on. And I think that's definitely something we're doing differently as a label, for sure.
No, that's great to hear. Would you say you kind of prioritize the artistic vision of a project?
I think it's definitely the priority, absolutely. But then I also would say that as a label, I do, have to look at the numbers just as much as anything else, but more so as a guide for what
Right.
maybe the next song should have a little bit more of, versus, completely changing a project. It's more like, let's do a little tweak here, a little tweak there, just to make sure we're on the right path so we can all hit our goals.
Yeah. No. I can definitely relate to that. I find, artistic vision is important, but, there's always that little bit, you might want to appeal to the people who like to listen to it. And I know with different songs, like I found different success with either how it's structured or how it's mixed and what appeals to people and what people really enjoy. But I feel like you can keep a good balance in between both of those. Recently I heard kind of you either make songs for the public, kind of commercially, or you make songs for other artists, which I don't believe is 100% true. But it was definitely interesting to hear your viewpoint.
I love hearing you say that. That reminds me of my band's last record. It's called No Brains, No Blood. It's on Spotify and all that. But a lot of that record I wrote specifically during that kind of COVID area we were all locked in, right? There wasn't really much to do. Luckily, I had a studio where I could go write and rehearse.
Yeah.
I wrote a lot of that record purposely for myself and for other musicians, something that I had to look forward to play live versus something that would sound good on the radio.
Right. Yeah. Awesome. All right. Okay. So just off the cuff, where do you see Black Barrel Records in the next 5 to 10 years? Do you have any plans to, you were talking about signing more people earlier, or just like kind of expand the offerings that you provide?
So in 5 to 10 years, I think goal-wise would be to really have a grip on, a booking division that's solidifying tours for our artists all the time to create a sustainable income for them
Right.
that they can rely on.
That's important now. Shirts make a lot of money.
I would argue to say that that's something I honestly want to push for even sooner than 5 to 10 years. But in 5 to 10 years, I would like to see us booking tours for our artists internationally, not just nationally.
Yeah.
Maybe get ourselves as, we're a small boutique label, but at the same time, we have reach. I think that's something, that would be a good 5 to 10 year goal for us.
Yeah, that's really important. I can't imagine how hard that must be. Booking is a whole process.
Yeah, I could have a whole hour long.
Oh, yeah, I haven't been able to book anything for myself, so it's a whole thing.
My line is always open if you need it.
Oh, I'll definitely keep it down. So okay, I'm having way too much fun with this right now. I really love music. I've grown up with music my whole life. It's been really important to me. And I just love hearing how passionate other people are about it.
Who are some of your favorite artists?
Oh, now we're interviewing me.
Yeah.
I'm very mixed. I'm very spread out. One artist, you may not know them. I've kind of, I'm a member on their record label. Was Willie Rodriguez was taken. They had a lovely album called Wet Dream recently. kind of resonated with me. I also love some kind of more popular artists. Really like Porter Robinson. I used to be big on Coldplay. I wouldn't say so much anymore. The Killers, Modest Mouse. I mean, I could go on. I can't even think right now. I'm sure there's someone that I'm like super into right now, but it's just not coming to mind.
I mean, you named some good ones.
Yeah.
We're in the ballpark.
We are there. I like to branch out. And this is kind of what the show is about. It's really me trying to find different genres and just accept them. Like, even if I don't like them, I'll be honest, there have been some episodes where I've been kind of iffy on what I've been playing, but I think it's really important that I give people that representation, that kind of all art matters.
Absolutely.
Some others, I loved Gordy Greep's new album. I'm big on that. Black Midi, Cave Town. I mean, I'm everywhere. Frat Mouse. Glass Beach is my favorite. And Phoebe Bridgers. Stuff like that. So,
they're great.
and Ricky Montgomery I absolutely love. But yeah. I forget where we were. But
that's excellent.
So yeah, what has it taught you? What has the music industry taught you, like, professionally or personally?
So personally, it's taught me that if you love something and you're passionate about it, you can pursue that as your career. It takes a lot of hard work and perseverance, but you need to be able to push through that fear to create that confidence and that self-esteem that pushes you to be successful in what you define successful as. For me, that was music. Professionally, I think that it's taught me that hard work is hard work, whether you love what you're doing or not. And sometimes there are those days where you are tested. Do you want to continue with this? You love music. You love playing in a band. Do I want to continue struggling, sending out emails, doing this, doing that, the other, just to play a show to 20 people or play a show to 100 people? Sometimes it's those tests really separate, the professionals from the unprofessionals.
Right. Yeah. Wow. Okay, yeah. So for listeners out there who may be aspiring to start their own label or pursue any type of music career, what kind of advice would you give them?
I think I don't do it. No, I'm just kidding. I think
you heard it here first.
I think if you're looking to do it, find some like-minded individuals, sit in a room and just start brainstorming. Get a whiteboard out. Just throw out whatever ideas you have out on a whiteboard and start from there. Crack a couple beers open, get some pizza, drink some soda, whatever your fancy is, you know what I mean? Get that whiteboard out, just start brainstorming ideas, and you will find whatever you are truly looking to do in that mess of words on that whiteboard.
That's pretty cool. Wow. So this is kind of going back to the venues, especially in Connecticut. I really want to see the arts really come out of Connecticut. And I mean, I think in certain counties, visual arts have been a big thing, especially in like New London County, even in New Haven. But like, I feel like Connecticut has such a big art scene potential. So like, are there any specific local venues or like festivals or events that you feel are important to emerging artists in Connecticut?
I think that there's a lot going on in Connecticut that's kind of still in its early stages. I think we're a small state, and I think we're kind of late to the party on a lot of festivals, but we've also always been there. And I think some to name a few, I went to one this summer. It was called the Shoreline Summer Festival.
Oh, I heard of that one, yeah.
And I think my friend Sean Ritchie hosted that at the Beer Axe, and I believe next year they might be hosting it somewhere else. He said he's probably doing some sort of venue switch up, but I'm not sure on the exact details of that. But they did an excellent job, and I felt like I was at like a mini Warped Tour. and it brought me back.
Nice.
And the nostalgia was real, and I was there with one of my interns and two of my bandmates, and we had a great time. And as far as local venues go, I've always been a big fan of Cafe 9.
I've heard of Cafe 9.
Cafe 9's been a staple. I think that as far as small venues go, it's always been like number one for indie rock or punk rock, you name it in that kind of genre. I think that like those smaller venues are where those bigger bands really form up and get created for sure.
Yeah, no, I think those are very important. I was kind of brought it up recently, but like this summer I went to Seattle to watch a festival of a little indie record that I communicate with them, and I've just been looking at them for a while. They're called Friend's House Records, and they have this. They're kind of on the younger side right now. They're in their 20s or teens, and they have this little festival of a bunch of their artists at this venue, and it's a non-for-profit venue called the Vera Project, and it was kind of in that the World Fair Center where the Space Needle is.
Oh, that's cool.
I don't know if it's a non-for-profit, and it's just really cool to me. I wish we could have something like that in Connecticut, where it's kind of there's like some sort of. I mean, I know there's probably a million logistical issues, but there's a non-for-profit venue that even if it's all ages, where people can go and possibly meet up with other bands. There's a studio inside of this venue as well. I've been trying to look at if that's ever going to be a possibility in Connecticut. I don't know, but there are some nice small venues.
So I mean, there are some places like that in Connecticut.
Yeah.
I think if you look hard enough, you might find some, but in the DIY community, some of them are cliquey, some of them are short-lived because they're all self-funded. And that's kind of some of the downside to anywhere, not just Connecticut, right?
Yeah,
I mean, if you're in the DIY community and you have an all-ages venue that whoever's running it isn't doing it for profit, they're just trying to host shows just to create a community. I think that usually those are short-lived unless they're doing something else to make their money. And
I'm pretty sure. Sorry to cut you off.
No,
I'm pretty positive the Vera Project is also funded by Seattle, the city itself.
Yeah, exactly.
So like that's another thing. Yeah.
Yeah, when you get into the realm of like getting grants involved and getting funding from other sources, that's where those venues actually can become sustainable.
Right.
There's a venue in Woodbridge that used to be called the Amity Teen Center. And my friend Jennifer's the owner of it. And they transitioned it from the teen center to an actual venue called 10 Selden, I want to say in 2020, 2021, around there, kind of during the COVID era as well, I think. There's a big shift there with a lot of venues. And they're all ages, and they're not for profit, actually.
Oh, that's really cool.
And I think they're BYOB. They're a really cool spot. To me, it always feels like the teen center.
Right.
I played there when I was like 15.
Oh, that's cool,
so
though.
I don't necessarily like playing there now. It still feels like that teen center to me. But it's great for those younger artists looking for a place to play. Like you said, meet other artists.
Yeah, I can get like the age disparities and depending on which venue you go to. And then again, who you play with, it's a whole thing. Yeah. So, how do you see the future of independent labels like yourself kind of evolving the music landscape? I know they've honestly been kind of pushed to the side. I feel like smaller labels aren't as recognized anymore, though there's still a bunch out there.
I think it's tough. Like I said, you really get tested, and you really have to have good ideas, and you have to act fast. And not only do you have to act fast and have good ideas, but you need to execute them well. Right. It's kind of a mixture of like, sometimes I view small independent labels as a bunch of different college sports teams. The competition is real, but everyone's kind of working towards the same goal of like just pursuing their passion. And I think if the focus is on that, success will come.
Yeah. Okay, so, upcoming releases. Any upcoming releases? Anything fun?
A lot of upcoming
A
releases.
lot?
A lot.
Oh,
it's been a busy. I was just just ranting to our publicist Erica, who, thank you for getting this all together for us. And I was just ranting to her about all the work we have. We're essentially going to be hibernating this winter to solidify them all, and we have one show left for the label, essentially, at Pianos in New York City. Tickets are live for The Inside Out and Internet Tears are both playing. Should be a fun show. But after that, we're hunkering down. We're just working on releases. You'll see a lot of the promotion in the weeks and months to come. But we got, I want to say, a full length from The Inside Out coming in the spring.
Oh, wow.
A full length from Internet Tears coming in probably late winter, spring, and also from our new artist, we just signed Mars Hendrick. We have a full length coming out in the spring as well. He might actually be having another record release in the summer as well too. So he's got a lot of material ready to go.
Wow, no, that's awesome.
It's exciting.
So, like, while we're still on this topic, any recommended releases from these artists? Or?
Yeah, I think while you're waiting for, some of the newer songs to come out from, like, The Inside Out or Internet Tears or Mars Hendrick, you can listen to some of the releases that are out right now. Both artists just released great singles this summer. One from The Inside Out was called Good Times. And one from Internet Tears was called Feels Like Summer. And Mars actually does not have anything released under the label yet. We are re-releasing his debut album that he already released himself. But he's going to be releasing this kick-ass single called The Ballad, Simmer Down, and that's going to be coming out. I don't know, I like to compare that to like a mixture of like Coldplay and Queen.
Ooh,
I don't know, it's interesting. He hit this magic with that song, and I think we're going to see some craziness when it gets released.
So, wow, no, that's really neat. You were kind of talking about this earlier, but for your band, I'm sorry, what's your band again?
So it's called The Inside Out.
The Inside Out.
Yes.
I've gone on your website a million times and I see it, but I keep forgetting.
That's all right. Just think Disney movie.
Disney movie, okay.
Go.
Yeah, good point. I didn't think about that. What artists inspired you?
So when I was first writing the music for it, I want to say there was a lot of inspiration from like artists like Brand New, Balance and Composure, Taking Back Sunday. And that kind of transformed as I started getting a little older. I fell in love. I got married. My anger turned towards happiness. Now it shows I like dancing instead of moshing. And now I'm kind of leaning towards the writing. I'm kind of going more towards that, Modest Mouse, The Killers, Two Door Cinema Club.
I love Two Door Cinema Club.
These other artists that I've always loved, like, Death Cab for Cutie, where it's
stop.
It's these artists that I've always loved, but, like, I wasn't, pulling influence from them as much because I just wasn't at that point. And, when you realize, like, that's how you write is, like, reflective of how you're feeling, it's very interesting.
Yeah, no, I think, more on the artsy side here, like, records, first of all, I do want to say the album is not dead. I love albums. Please keep them.
It's definitely not dead.
They're super important. But, yeah, I feel like records are a huge reflection of kind of your mental state, kind of who you are at the time and the journey you're going through. I love, personally, when kind of records are stylized differently. I mean, maybe the structure can be kept the same, but I just love when every record there's kind of a different story that they're telling. So
for sure.
I definitely want to listen to your music sometime, and maybe we'll even come back and talk about it on the show. But I hope I get that feeling when I listen to it.
I don't know. We'd be happy to be on it. We were on here, I think, not like 2 weeks ago, actually, with one of your coworkers, Ashley.
Ashley, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
she had us on. We had a great time chatting with her for the Inside Out. So
That's amazing.
happy to come on and chat with you as well.
No, that's incredible. Yeah. So I know you kind of have multiple facets. I never know what I'm talking about.
None of us do. Kristen, none of us do.
So, as a label, do you focus on promotion? Is it like merch? Is it the recording studio? I know you also, we were talking earlier about you have like a guitar repair shop?
Yes, that's a whole nother story, and I can get into that a little bit. But
yeah, go ahead.
Just to answer your first question, what the label focuses on, like our priorities that we, like those label services we really offer towards our artists. We have an in-house recording studio, state-of-the-art equipment.
Awesome.
My partners and I hand-built the whole entire thing ourselves. We designed it from the ground up. Tons of good equipment that honestly, like most professional state-of-the-art studios have, we have, and some that those studios don't have that we have. We have a lot of vintage gear, a lot of vintage guitar amps. It was kind of like this thing that just like built itself together by conjoining gear with my partner Zach, and then my brother and I, both musicians. We grew up, so we always wanted to do that. So the studio is probably the biggest part of what we can offer artists, and that's one of the biggest expenses artists have when they're going to record their art. Is you can do the whole DIY bedroom studio thing, or you can try to go to a recording studio and pay thousands of dollars to record. And one of the things that I can offer the artists is we can record the music, as part of what they're getting signing with us and everything like that. I'd say the other big, asset that we have to us is our publicist, Erica. She does a fantastic job putting together interviews and, opportunities for our artists. It's a lot. We kind of offer a little bit of everything. We have a great distribution team for physical and digital.
Oh, who is it, man?
So it's a private distribution team.
Oh, okay.
But at the same time, it was a hard one, relationship to build and not to gatekeep, but it's a private relationship. But at the same time, and there's nothing wrong with using services like DistroKid and CD Baby or RootNote or anything like that. Those are all great services. But when you build that relationship with a distribution company that actually can handle the physical side of things as well, you open up avenues where artists can actually make some money. Streaming's not a tool for income, it's a tool for promotion.
Very true, very true, yeah. Oh, wow, no.
Yeah, I know, it's a lot. It's
no, it's true,
loaded question with a loaded answer.
I think the studio, especially, that goes hand in hand with the promotion too. That's one of the most important things that you can provide to artists.
Yeah.
Really, really incredible. I had another question. I'm totally blanking right now. So the private is distribution. No, really, really cool. So collaborations. That's what it was. I want to ask about. Do you do, of course, with artists, but maybe other labels, and I guess you do collaborate with this private distributor. Is that big? Is that something you want more in the future? Is that something
absolutely.
You do now?
Yeah, I think knowing knowing what the work you can do is important. So if I know that I can handle the recording work and that's 100%, that's A+, but maybe I don't have a warehouse. I don't have a distribution team. What am I going to do for that? If I want to create a label, I'm going to need that.
Right.
So you collaborate with somebody. I'm not a publicist. What do? You team up with somebody who has that experience, who can also give these artists what they deserve, which is that A+ attention in those different fields of what a label offers. Same goes for booking. right now we're a small label. I handle all of our booking and everything. We're looking to bring on a booking manager sooner than later because of how much busier we're getting. But same thing. You need to know what you can do and handle, and then execute it properly.
Right. Yeah, no, it's funny you bring that up. I've talked with some booking managers I'm close to, but I've been having personally a hard time just finding someone kind of here on the East Coast, and I think that would be such an issue. But I had one guy who he lived in the Rhode Island area. And he's like, "Oh, I got a place for you," and I'm like, "Oh, great, what is it?" And he's like, "It's in Chicago." And I'm like, I can't go to Chicago right now, unfortunately.
Oh, man.
Wow. So, do you primarily focus on Connecticut-based artists? I assume so.
Yes and no.
That's fine.
So, if there was an artist from, let's say, just because you just said Chicago, right? And I liked what their music sounded like. Mm-hmm. Maybe they already have the booking side down. Mm-hmm. Maybe they already have a recording studio near them, and it makes no sense to fly them out and waste a bunch of money on all that. Because they already have it. They already have it down packed. I listen to their music. I love how it sounds. Why do I need to have them re-record it in my studio? That's just more work. But maybe they don't have the distribution side down. Maybe they don't have the PR side down. Maybe they need just honestly that guidance of a more so overlook and management perspective on what they're doing and what they're doing right and wrong. So no. I would say we're not focused just on Connecticut. I think if there was an artist that had potential, I absolutely would entertain working with them if they were not from the immediate area.
Oh, no, that's really cool to hear. So we are kind of wrapping up here. But I'm going to ask you to plug your socials and everything in a second.
Sure. No, this has been great, Tristan, so thank you.
Oh, yeah, no, thank you so much. I've never been so giddy about an episode of any insight. I'm always looking for people to interview. The art world is very important to me, especially at this school. So, kind of final big question, and feel free to rant.
I thought we were wrapping up.
Yeah, we kind of are. What's the one thing you want people to know about Black Barrel Records after hearing this interview?
I think the one thing I would want them to know is that we do put the artists first as a label, and we are definitely looking to work with you in some sort of way. It might not be for signing you. Maybe you just need a place to perform. Sometimes we throw showcases. I'm always happy to help, and my line is always open, even for advice. So that's what I would say. I'm going to keep it short and sweet with that one.
No, that's really important. I'm really happy to hear that. I think there's been a lot of, many artists don't speak up about it, but label abuse. I think label abuse is a big thing, especially with big labels right now. I'm not really talking about DIY. And I think it's really important for people to realize that while you can do things independently, there are people there to help. And I think, especially in the recording world, help and in this artistic process is very important. I think that's also something I learned when I started doing music. I can't do everything by myself, and
Exactly.
that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
But when you find those people, those like-minded people like you, whether it's at different venues, whether they text you and they're like, "Hey, I love the song that you made," it's kind of really important that we as artists kind of come together and recognize our art and how we can help one another. So it's been lovely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Please plug all your socials, everything.
So, for Black Barrel Records, it's pretty easy. We use Instagram for everything.
I'm going to follow. I'll follow you right now, actually.
Pretty straightforward. So it's just at Black Barrel Records. That's it. There's no numbers, no nothing. As far as our website goes, which will have all of our other info anyway, it's blackbarrelrecords.co.co. So, and that'll give you all of our artist profiles. It'll give you information. It'll give you contact links if you want to reach out, say hi, or if you just need some advice. Like I just said in the previous question, we want to be your your artist resource. We want to be that tool for you to use and help you. Even if we're not working together directly, I'm always happy to answer any questions and help.
Wow. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, we're going to have to wrap up for today, but thank you for tuning in to Indie Insight. I was very excited. I mean, I am still excited that we had Black Barrel Records here with us today. And yeah, tune in next week. The theme, I'm still keeping it a secret. But it's a theme that I have been requested a lot of, so that may tell some of you what it might be. Please check out Black Barrel Records and their artists, and please support them if you can. All right?